All right, today we're going to dive into a really cool idea that totally shook up how we train AI. It's not just about making them more powerful, but way, way more efficient. We're breaking down a concept called prioritized experience replay, which is basically all about teaching an AI how to practice smarter, not just harder.
But first, let me ask you something. Think about the last time you were really trying to learn something new. Could be a song on the guitar, a new move in a sport, or, just getting past a super hard level in a video game. How did you do it? Did you just mindlessly repeat everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, over and over again? I'm going to guess probably not.
You zeroed in on the tough spots, right? You practiced that one tricky chord change until your fingers hurt. You worked on the serve that just wouldn't go in. You replayed that one section of the game that kept tripping you up. See, the whole point is that real learning isn't just random repetition. It's all about strategically focusing on the moments that actually teach you something important. And it turns out, we can teach an AI to do the exact same thing.
Okay, so to really get why this was such a huge deal, we first have to understand how AIs used to learn. And it all starts with what sounds like a superpower, a perfect photographic memory.
It's a technique called experience replay. Just imagine an AI playing a game. Every single thing it does, every button press, every point it scores, every time it fails, gets saved into this giant database, this replay memory. This lets the AI learn from its past, mixing up old and new stuff to get a much more stable grip on how the game works.
But here's the problem. The original, revolutionary AI, the Deep Q network, had this perfect memory, but it was a terrible student. It would just pull experiences out of its memory completely at random. There was no rhyme or reason to it. That's kind of like studying for a huge exam by just flipping your textbook open to random pages. I mean, sure, you might learn something eventually, but man, is it inefficient.
And that massive inefficiency is what led researchers at DeepMind to ask a really simple, intuitive question. And this gets us to the absolute heart of this whole explainer. What if we could just teach the AI to be a better student?
And this was the big aha moment. What if, instead of just random review, the AI actually focused on the important stuff? The moments where something totally unexpected happened, where it made a huge mistake, or maybe where it stumbled into an amazing success. What if it could learn the way we do?
Now, check this out, because this shows you the sheer potential we're talking about. In this simple test called the blind cliff walk, there are a ton of ways to fail and only one very specific way to succeed. That black line, that's an AI learning by replaying its memories randomly. The teal line, that's a perfect oracle that magically knows exactly which memories are the most important ones to study. And look at that scale. This isn't just a small gap, it's exponentially huge. This proves that how you practice can make an absolutely astronomical difference.
So, the big question is, how does an AI know which memories are important if it doesn't have a magic oracle? Well, it uses something called the temporal difference error, or TDR. But you can just think of it as a surprise score. Every time the AI does something, it calculates the gap between what it thought was going to happen and what actually happened. A low score means, yep, that went pretty much as I expected. But a high score means, whoa, I did not see that coming. And those high surprise moments, those are pure gold for learning.
And here's the result. It's brilliant. That red line is the AI using the surprise score to decide what to practice next. Just look at how much closer it gets to that perfect oracle compared to the random black line. It's not perfect, but it's a massive leap. It proves that prioritizing by surprise is an incredibly powerful strategy. It just makes the AI's learning so much more efficient.
Okay, so this sounds amazing, right? Just focus on the most surprising stuff. But, like with any great idea, it's not quite that simple. Just telling the AI to always focus on the biggest surprise actually creates its own set of problems. And they needed some pretty clever solutions to fix it.
So it all comes down to finding a balance between focus and, well, diversity. If you take a simple greedy approach, where the AI only ever replays its biggest surprise, it can lead to something called overfitting. It's like a musician who only practices the single hardest note in a song over and over, and then completely forgets how to play the rest of it. The solution is something called stochastic prioritization. The best way to think about it is like a lottery. The really high surprise moments, they get a ton of lottery tickets, but the easy, boring stuff, they still get a few tickets, so they still have a small chance of being picked. This keeps the AI from getting tunnel vision and makes sure it keeps a well-rounded set of skills.
And there was one last little tweak needed. Because the AI isn't sampling randomly anymore, it can actually create a kind of statistical bias in how it sees the world. So to fix that, they apply a correction called importance sampling. It's a bit technical, but it's basically a way of adjusting the math to account for the fact that we're not being random anymore, which keeps the AI's learning accurate and on the right track.
So with all these pieces finally in place, prioritizing by surprise, making sure there's diversity, and correcting for bias, what happened? What were the actual results? Well, to put it mildly, they were a total game changer.
So how did it actually do? Well, they tested it against the original AI on a set of 49 classic Atari games, and the results were just staggering. The new, smarter AI didn't just win a little bit, it showed a huge improvement on a massive 41 of those games. That's not just a win, that's a blowout.
And it wasn't just beating the original AI. No way. At the time, the reigning champion was an even more advanced version called Double DQN, and prioritized replay beat that too. It set a brand new state-of-the-art, a whole new benchmark for performance.
And on some of the games, the improvement was just jaw-dropping. We're talking about games that were notoriously difficult, like River Raid and Sequest. For the first time ever, the AI was playing at a human level. On other games, like Gopher, the jump in performance was just enormous. This wasn't a small tweak. This was a fundamental leap.
But here it is. Here's the final killer stat. It wasn't just better, it was faster, way faster. Looking at the big picture across all the games, this new method let the AI get to the same skill level as the old champ in less than half the time. It made the whole learning process more than twice as efficient.
So, okay, getting high scores in old video games is pretty cool, but why does any of this really matter? What's the bigger picture? Well, it's because this principle of smart practice tells us something really fundamental about learning itself, for machines and for us.
And this is where it gets really mind-blowing. It turns out that this AI strategy actually mirrors what happens in biology. Neuroscience studies have found that the brains of animals do something that looks incredibly similar. When they're resting, their brains actually replay past experiences. And get this, the moments that led to a reward or a big surprise seem to get replayed a lot more often. It suggests this is a deep core principle of how intelligence works, period. And it's not just a one-trick pony for reinforcement learning. This same exact idea works for totally different problems, like teaching an AI to classify images. When you're training it on a dataset where some types of images are super rare, prioritizing the surprising or hard-to-classify ones helps it learn way more effectively. It stops it from just getting good at recognizing the common stuff.
This one powerful idea of prioritization has just blown the doors open for so much new research. Now people are looking at using it to guide AIs to explore their worlds more intelligently, to build memory systems that don't just save everything but actively pick out the most useful stuff, and even to get better at learning from human experts.
So look, if you take just one thing away from all this, let it be this. Prioritized experience replay taught the AI world a lesson that we all kind of know instinctively. For any intelligent system, how you practice is every bit as important as how much you practice. It's quality over quantity.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. We've managed to teach an AI a fundamental trick for learning that we humans use all the time without even thinking about it. So, what's next? What other subtle, powerful learning strategies from our own minds are just waiting to be discovered and coded into the next generation of AI?